Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Barcast TV. This is another episode of Barcast Daily. I have a very special guest on the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Blodir.
Hey.
How's it going, man? Thanks for coming on the channel.
Yeah, it's all right. Thanks for having me. It's going all right.
Pretty excited that we get to kind of talk together before this upcoming qualifier that you're going to be participating in. So maybe that's the first thing we can talk about. I mean, I have so many things we can kind of go over, but you want to look at the qualifiers so far with me and maybe give your thoughts on the upcoming tournament?
Sure. Yeah, I think there might be like a Stormgate tournament at the same time as the qualifier, but I haven't really looked into that because the current patch is not the greatest. But we'll have to see about that. I think I'll be able to participate anyway. I don't think I'm gonna participate in Stormgate, but I might.
That's interesting to bring up. I haven't been following it so much as far as when is it the open beta is going to be released? Is that already out? I'm not too sure about that.
So I was participating in like the alphas. So there were 3 alphas I think that I participated in, and then there was the pre-alpha, and then there was a beta. Wait, hold up. It might be 2 alphas in the beta. Anyways, there was a beta in December, and this is like the second beta. They have like always progressively added more people in there, and now I think they have like a Steam Fest week thing where everyone can play it, something like that. And so during that, I think at the end of it they have a tournament or something like that. But yeah, wasn't really impressed in the patch, like this current patch. I guess I can't really say too much because there's an NDA. But yeah, I wasn't really impressed, so I just been playing Bar instead of playing Stormgate.
Well, I mean that's good for us. I'm gonna be keeping up with Stormgate. Some of the guys from StarCraft I really like have been making content about that. But to be frank, I haven't watched any of the like quote air like pro level matches, air quotes, right? So, or I'm sure there's gonna be Stormgate pros, but I just haven't been following it as much as Bar. So
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't followed this current patch either. I played the previous ones quite a lot though.
that's cool. Well,
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can get some new RTS in my vein, I'll be happy. And Bar counts for me.
there that up. That's good to hear. So I brought up on screen for everyone to look at the 2 qualifiers that are going to be February 10th and 11th. That's just a week away, actually. So
Yeah.
I think I see you in here. Or is that the E? Yeah. So you're
Yeah,
here on
yeah,
the
yeah.
NA and EU one, which I need to make an announcement and
Did
actually move this
you
forward.
did you change the Yeah, you didn't change the date. Okay.
The day
Yeah, I
should.
mean the NA1 is in a okay time zone for me as well, so I might as well sign up for both, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. So that was kind of my thought process. Like it's a single elimination tournament, but if you can play in multiple qualifiers, it kind of works itself out.
Yeah, and you get top 4 from each, so there's quite a lot of slots.
So I'm not sure if you're familiar with how we did last season, but so we had 4 qualifiers last season, right? So there's no one to seed into the round of 16.
Okay.
But the number one, like the finalists from each qualifier got a pick to move a player in one of the groups. So like I drew the bracket for the round of 16, and 4 players had one pick to move a player from one group to another.
I don't get
You don't get it?
it.
Okay, so let
No.
me bring up the bracket. I'll explain it because
Yeah.
I might do the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds pretty weird. I'm not gonna lie.
So this is something they've done in like StarCraft. So
Okay.
say like Group A has like the 4 finalists from the 4 qualifiers were like Taku, Andy, Yudi, and Goopy, right? I drew the bracket for
Mhm.
the rounds of 16, and each of them had one pick to move a player from one bracket to another.
Okay. Right, but all right, fair enough. Okay, I
So
can see
like
that.
say like Taku went first, he'll move like Lapatka
Yeah.
to stardom, right? He wants to like dodge a good player or put a stack a group
Mhm.
and like attack one player, something like that. But you can't pick the
Oh,
other
okay, I
finalist.
see. Okay, so you can choose which group you're moving into
Right,
or
exactly.
what.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
but that sounds like FFA because like I remember. Okay, so this is a kind of a story, but in FAF we had a FFA tournament in like 2018 maybe or something like that. I remember in the finals it was like 3 players, right? And it was like the smallest map, and the 2 other players just decided to just had an agreement from the start to just kill me at the start, and like there's nothing you could do, right? And this is what it kind of feels like. If you have a good relationship with other players, I feel like you can just kill a group, you know? And that's like the best strategy as well.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting dynamics that go on.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about that one, just because of that issue, right? Like it feels like you really need to socialize with other players to make sure that you get the best bracket,
We had
best group. I mean, if you're aiming to win the entire thing, then of course you need to beat everyone, but
it was some wild picks from last season. I think Yudi ended up getting the best of it.
mhm.
Because they ended up stacking Group D, but we'll see how it plays out. If it becomes an issue, or like what you're saying, or if I see it's like kind of like collusion in some regard, then I might not have it involved. But I thought it would be it's a fun dynamic because like we can draw the round of 16 bracket and then
Yeah.
you have like these players who won the qualifiers on and kind of just talk shit and move players around. So
Yeah, I guess if you like get everybody in Discord and stuff at the same time, it would be kind of fun to talk shit.
yeah, I think that's what we did. We had I want to say we had 3 of the 4, 4 of the 4 on it, and it was pretty fun. So
But yeah, like when you think about it, like if you have 4 qualifiers and like I don't know how many players get through each qualifier. I guess it's 4 for each one if you had 16 players.
yep.
Um, but then it would matter which qualifier you won or did well in. Like would matter for the your actual placement in a group. And so like let's say if the first qualifier is super stacked, then maybe someone else gets really unfortunate from getting like the loser of group, like the first qualifier, even if they're a really strong player. Um, so yeah,
Hmm.
I mean I can see that that would cause problems as well. It's really hard to do the seeding.
Yeah, this time it maybe not so many issues because we have 8 great players already qualified. And
Yeah.
what I was planning, I think what I did last season was I put the 4 highest seeded players in their own separate groups, and then I just randomly distributed the other players who qualified into the groups, and then we did the shuffling around with the picks
Yeah.
and had a final bracket, which I think this is it right here from last season. So, um, do you have
Yeah,
any?
from what I saw, the top 8 players were like all 10 top 15ish players on the leaderboard as well, right? So I'm sure that will be that will work out fine.
Yeah, absolutely, and I want to say it's slightly more competitive this season, so that I mean that's great for us as maybe viewers and players. So we just get to see higher quality matches and
Yeah.
get give you players something to do. So maybe it'd be a good time to discuss or announce even my plans for the rest of 2024. So I was gonna do two more two more of these in 2024. So like maybe 3 months from now and then 6 months from now I'd try and do like season 3 and season 4. So hopefully that keeps you guys like entertained or thinking about practicing 1v1s. And
Yeah, that's cool. I think I've heard of some murmurings about someone else hosting a 1v1 tourney as well. I'm not 100% sure though, but I'm sure there are other people that are interested in that kind of thing as well.
yeah, well, that's fantastic to hear. So maybe we can like spread it out or coordinate it so that it's distributed across 2024 in a maybe not so condensed manner, right? So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. The coordination between tournament organizers is always a bit difficult, but yeah, you need to do that, of course.
well, that's great to hear. I'm sure just like more reason to keep practicing the game. I think it's great to hear. So
Yeah,
anyways, I'm looking at this EU qualifier, thinking about who's going to move out of this. Actually, maybe we should start at NA because it's the day before, and it might pull some people out of the EU qualifier.
right.
I'm gonna make a prediction here. Who gets out of this group, or gets out of this? This is kind of tough, actually.
I don't know a lot of these players, not gonna lie. I think Austin, Texas, that guy, right, is pretty high in team games, I think.
Yeah, he's pretty strong and has has been playing practice games, I'm sure. So, but as far as like first and second place, it'd probably be like you and Sheep in the finals of this qualifier. Maybe like you getting out first place, Sheep in second, and then I want to say like Neza Austin or like Neza Contra maybe get out.
I don't know who Contra is, and I haven't seen Austin play either, but Neza is super strong. And yeah, Sheep is, of course, very strong as well.
Contra is from I want to say like Balanced Annihilation or Zero K. He's like really strong in one of those two
Okay.
games. So it's like a basically like a bar clone. Or...
Yeah, but I think rest of these players are mostly like 30 or less. Actually, Vedar is pretty strong as well. I think he's at like 40 OS or something. Lord Vedar.
Yeah, I've actually saw him practicing today, so it's cool to see some of these guys showing up.
And there's also Thurxie, and he's also at about 40 OS, and he's playing a lot. So I expect that he's gonna be a pretty even match for people like, well, actually, most of these guys, really. Like
For sure.
Forneza and Sheep as well.
Well, he's a I'd call him a 1v1 specialist. So like these really high OS team game players jump into a match with Xerxes and he'll just make tanks and kill you. So
Yeah,
so that's it.
that's true. There's always been this pattern of like whenever some well, mostly with FAF as well, where there are people who are 1v1 players and people that are team game players, and oftentimes the team game players are much more echo heavy.
Yeah,
And
and
I
that's
noticed that in this game, like all the team game players, which is a lot of players, tend to be massive LLT enjoyers. I guess in like a team game setting, it's really hard to not have someone leak into you,
right,
and so
right.
you kind of want to have PDs or I mean LLTs, just in case someone leaks into you. And I found that super annoying when playing team games as well. But yeah, in 1v1, you can control everything, of course, so you can skip a lot of the LLTs. And I think the 1v1 players maybe get that a little bit better, I would say, and they can be more aggressive.
Yeah, well, you can be more efficient with your resources, right? I mean, that's you're just expanding quicker, which just kind of snowballs, right? Well, there's a lot of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
reasons not to make LLTs, but
Yeah, I think I mean I feel like I get a lot of free wins without having to do anything, just from enemy making too many LLTs, and so I just have more tanks.
that's really good to hear because to me the game isn't by any means solved, so the more people practice and get like improve, raise the bar among everybody, we'll just see like better and
Yeah.
better bar, like more things will become apparent of as far as like balance. Like I just think there's a lot of room to grow, of course.
Yeah, I mean, especially like tier 2 stage, I feel like no one's figured that out probably. I mean, obviously I'm a new player, I wouldn't know. But it feels like in a 1v1 setting where you can control like so much space, people haven't really figured out how to do tier 2. Like I'm sure they know how to do it in a team game setting when there's like, you have 2 square inches or whatever area for yourself. But in a 1v1 setting, I feel like people haven't figured it out.
I think I have to agree with you there. And that's exciting to know because like the T2 phase of the game could being completely unexplored. It's like, well, we'll see like maybe 20, 30 minute macro games where there might actually be a T2 com snipe timing or like ways to end the game in this T2 phase that you see in FAF. If I'm not mistaken, that's a big part of FAF or in 1v1s. Can you speak to the differences in FAF and bar, or what's been your experience so far?
I mean, that's a broad topic. That's a very general question.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, okay, so I'll say that I definitely prefer FAF. Like I've played that game since I was, I don't know, like 16 or something. I'm 28 now. I don't know, 2013 I think is when I started. Um, So I guess I was 18 then or whatever. But regardless, I played it for a very long time, and it's like my favorite game of all time, even though I played like all the RTS games. So I'm like massively biased.
I'm super biased to
Um,
myself, but it's
but yeah, like I think I think FF is a much better game. I'm not gonna lie, but there are like lots of things that I enjoy about Bar as well, and lots of things that I prefer in Bar as well. Like particularly, I think there's a lot of land micro, which is in FAF generally you're like dodging shots
dodging
or
shots.
like
Yeah,
yeah dodging shots. Maybe like you have like your artillery, like trying to harass the enemy with your artillery while keeping it alive, like out of range of the enemy tanks. Things like that. There's like a little bit of that, but in general, it's pretty mild. Um, the scale is much bigger, and yeah, units are generally a bit less microable. I feel like um, that contributes to it.
it's. I feel like a bar is a good mix of both worlds. Like the units are quick and microable, but it does have that scale of like a grand scale RTS like Lancy and Air,
Yeah,
right? So it does that decently well. I think they're working on an Air rework, which putting that dodgeable micro interactions I think would be cool to see integrated into the balancer somehow.
yeah. Just to keep to the land point, like I really enjoy the early game micro. Like I get that people in 1v1, especially people people don't really. I think a lot of people don't really enjoy the fact that scouts, like 3-shot nexus or something crazy like that. But there's just so much micro to this beginning of the game, and even just like in a grunt war, you can do all kinds of moves to like outmicro your opponent, and it's super cool.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a part that I really like about this game, and it isn't nearly as good in FAF. And I think actually, surprisingly, I find this game in its current phase, anyways, with like grunts being super OP, and so every game's like grunt versus grunt. In this current um, balance, I feel like the game is actually pretty stable in the early game if you are very good, or at least reasonably good, right? I think in like lower level, it's gonna be super unstable. But in FAF, I feel like 1v1, since like a patch in like 2020 or something, I basically played until like 2019 sort of actively um, in like 1v1s and
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I've like kind of on and off played team games and memed around, and that's about it. Um, but yeah, there was a bad patch in like 2020 or something, which made like gave bombers radar and buff
Oh
labs
no,
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
you can't.
Right, right. Like that kind of stuff made the game super unstable, super volatile in the beginning. I mean, that's not the only reason it's volatile, of course. It's like it's a lot down to the maps and things like that as well. Um,
It's
but yeah, like the way that RTS games like this, where you have like these mech points that you control over, um, are there these kinds of games are always going to be kind of volatile because um at the beginning you have the expansion phase, and if like your engineer gets stopped that's going to an expansion, then you lose out on all the mass and the game's over pretty much.
yeah, but
But like bar does that a lot of ways better. Subcode does because engineers have way more HP. It's like really hard to snipe the engineers. It's really easy to snipe the mexes, which is fine because you still have the engineer and you can rebuild stuff.
right.
Um, but yeah, like even like here, of course, like if the engineer that I have on the bottom right or the bottom expanding towards the right, if that gets sniped, like it's not looking good for me. If it got sniped for free. But it's actually pretty easy to prevent that from happening because it has like billion HP. So in that part, respect, this is it's much nicer. So it feels like bar in some ways is actually more stable in 1v1, even though everything has 1 HP compared to FAF where everything has billion HP, except engineers. Just because, probably mostly because of the engineer thing, really. Because in Subcom, engineers die. Like one shot to bombers, they die. A couple of shots from a lab or something, they die super fast. So the game becomes really unstable because you can come from a random angle and just have an engineer and the game's over. In this game, you can't do that. Yeah, you can snipe some mexes, but that's an advantage. But generally, you don't like kill the opponent unless it's like a really unbalanced matchup.
I,
So
I
yeah, I really like that.
I like it. Yeah, I agree. I like how delicate the economy seems. So harassing pays off in some regard, or can pay off, right?
Yeah, it pays off without being overbearing in terms of like you instantly lose the game. I get that that happens a lot still, but I feel like once you get to a certain point in terms of like early game skill, it becomes much less likely for the game to actually just straight up end. I don't like our games with Randy never like end at the beginning.
You think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a very good thing. I mean, it really sucks when games end in 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll end up into the phase of the game where there's an actual skill expression in some regard. Like you can make decisions about where to attack, and unit
Well, look,
composition is.
there's skill expression in the early game, like huge amounts of skill expression in the early game, which is great. But like, I also want there to be other stages to the game, and like the early game stuff is generally like having good eco balance and good unit management, right? There's not like unit choice isn't that big of a deal, stuff like that.
I just make runs, right?
I just feel like we're missing out on so much of the game if the game ends in tier 1 stage.
Which I'm happy to see you playing and these other FAF guys and just people enjoying 1v1s in general, because it's just going to let us see what does the actual T2 meta look like in 1v1s. If because I think that's going to be coming here pretty shortly. It's like the 1v1 stage is so stable at the high level that you like T2 play becomes a thing. It's like now suddenly there's a whole separate game
Yeah.
in some ways to play.
Yeah, I feel like with Random we go. Well, actually, recently we haven't really. Well, we haven't played that many games in like a few days, but there have been several games which have gone pretty long, and we have gotten to see T3 and stuff. Yeah, that's pretty exciting, I would say. Even though I I have some issues with the tier 2 stage and stuff with spy bots and so on. I find it kind of annoying, but yeah.
Yeah, how
Besides
do you
that,
deal with spy bots? Is it structures or grunts? I don't.
well, I'll be honest. I think spy bots are busted. I
Yeah,
think
for
they're
sure. Yeah,
OP.
definitely. They're really strong.
Yeah, yeah, I think they're just OP, so you don't really deal with them. But what you do is you build your own spy bots, and then yeah, you need to make like a tracer in the front, and then yeah, you need to have like some spam units like runs. Of course, if you're arm, then you have your life is much easier, but it's really hard to survive with arm until tier 2 stage, so you don't generally see that in 1v1, um, like starting maps.
On certain
But
maps,
yeah,
yeah.
if you're like assuming that you're a core, it's just gonna be like you're making your own spy bots to abuse because it's OP, and you'll make like a tracer in the front and like have like one factory make runs or something like that. I think like mines could be good as well. I see Slow making like lots of mines. Maybe that's something
Mines are very
you looked
strong
at.
for sure. If you're
Yeah,
a little APM intensive, but they have a lot of utility that has yet to be kind of explored, I think.
yeah.
So
I
spy
kind of
bots,
lost the
sorry,
track here.
spy bots see spy bots. Is that like a reason to make them, or you're just abusing the same unit?
No. You just abuse the same thing. I mean, that's one thing that I used to refuse to accept in games, like in RTS games in general. I think even pretty recently. Well, like I remember playing AW4 when it launched, right? And there was just so much broken stuff, and I hated it. Like everything was broken, and I just refused to abuse the broken stuff for a lot of that. And then like eventually you just come to the realization that you're just gonna have to do it. Like otherwise, it's gonna be a frustrating experience for you if you don't abuse the broken stuff. And I think I'm just like kind of taking that approach here, where like I think there's some stuff that's clearly broken. I'll just play that. It's
Well,
just much less frustrating to play that way.
yeah,
And
less
spy bots
frustrating, right?
are
Like you
yeah,
don't.
spy bots are in that category. Like if I can't beat them, join them.
That's a good way to play. And I think there's a lot of games like that. Like I'm thinking, like any card game, really, like MTG or like Hearthstone or something like that. I think there's always been like a just a busted thing to use. And
Yeah,
the same thing
yeah,
in
that's true.
RTSs.
I feel like in RTS games it's easier to not have that though, because there's enough complexity to allow for like certain amount of skill expression allows for some to make up for deficiencies of units, basically. So you can have something that's OP and you can still work around it. So yeah, I think there that we could do better job balancing bar just on the basis of RTS games being a bit easier to balance than simpler games.
Mm.
But yeah, I think yeah, definitely abusing iBots is probably a big part of the solution to tier 2 right now.
So,
Not that I have
well,
played a lot of games.
I think we'll be seeing a lot more of this in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye out for how that looks in the
Yeah.
matches. Going back to FAF, is there anything from Bar you would change maybe to be more like FAF, or like what would you do to improve Bar?
Yeah, well, I don't know about like really concrete suggestions. Those are always hard, right? Like honestly, making games, balancing games, designing games, I mean, it's all really hard. Like it's really easy to complain, but actually giving like really good suggestions
Yeah,
is really tough. But yeah, like things that I prefer in FAF, I think air thing stuff is like super obvious. Like air in bar is just horrible.
I'd have to agree.
You like
Well, it needs something, right? There's something
yeah.
missing from the air in Bar.
Actually, an interesting thing about air in Subcom is that I have like previously complained about how in Subcom you can fly over the enemy base with interceptors, those are like fighters.
Yep.
You can fly over the enemy base for free pretty much, and like it's really hard to hit them with any anti-air until like SAMs or something. But like tier 1 anti-air can't really hit the interceptors very easily. And so what ends up happening is that like it doesn't matter how much anti-air you have, if you have like if you don't have any interceptors of your own, you're just gonna lose all your gunships or whatever, right?
Right.
Um, whereas in this game, it feels like it's completely reversed. It's like you can't fly your planes anywhere close to the enemy base because they just get instantly killed by all the anti-air in there.
I think
And that might actually be worse. Now that I think about it, because in this game, right? Like you can't protect your units against shurikens with air. It's just impossible. Like if enemies defending their base with shurikens, you need to have anti-air in your army because if you try to use fighters to defend your army from the shurikens, like they're just gonna die to like one anti-air turret that's in the enemy base.
Yep. No, this is
So
something I've been thinking about myself, and maybe I'll explain it in the same way. You tell me if I get this wrong, but it's like the bombers and the gunships would be weak to anti-air and like ground-based anti-air, and like what we see in FAF, the scouts and air superiority fighters are are strong against like ground-based AA. So it's like you can scout really efficiently with air units in FAF. You can kill other air units efficiently with FAF, but like the ground to air interaction for specific is a little different, which I think it's better in FAF in some regards because you have this really cool like bomber mechanics with like dodging and harassing engineers and
yeah.
like economy, but
Like the thing is, I'm not sure what is the best way to go at this point. Like, it feels like there should be a triangle where interceptors beat like air to ground units, and then like it would make sense. Like I was thinking this previously, what I thought is that it would make sense if the like ground to air would be good against interceptors or fighters. But now that I've experienced sort of that in bar is actually really bad. So I, I don't know. Like I don't know anything anymore. I feel like, um,
I
yeah,
guess it
I'm
kind of
not sure how I would go about that. I think maybe it's just the issue is that in bar it's so extreme. Oh yeah, you drew the triangle in there.
yeah. So what is it
Yeah,
like? Ground AA is good versus bombers. Interceptors are good versus bombers, something like that. But
yeah,
like
but like, wouldn't it make sense if it was the other way around, where like interceptors are good against bombers and bombers are good against ground and anti-air? Like in a way, like when you think about that, like I mean that's the purpose of bombers to hit ground, right? But like I'm not sure. That might be worse. It might be better to go the other direction. It's really hard to tell actually.
I
But
w-
I think regardless, it's like too extreme in maybe both cases. But
mm.
definitely in bar.
Pers-
Yeah.
Personally, when I'm playing big team games, it's like I wish the T2 scout was better, and like you could get in
Yeah.
with T2 scouts, right? Or air battles lasted longer than like 2 seconds, and you could like make this. And I don't want to go too on and on. I think
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, but
I think air battles lasting longer is one of the biggest things. Yeah, for sure. Like units die too fast in there, stuff like that.
so,
And like if the enemy has any anti-air, like you don't have any time to get out because like you didn't see it in the first place because scouting is so hard. And then when you see it shooting at you, it's too late. All of your int is dead pretty much. Um. So yeah, like things like taking longer to kill in there might be a big part of the solution here.
That's a I think that's a decent feedback to at least go off of, and I'm sure other players who haven't even played FAF might have different ideas of how to balance that. So
Yeah, yeah. I think definitely the biggest thing is the how long it takes to kill area units. I mean, it has to be uh should take longer to kill area units. That's probably the biggest thing. Like that would introduce micro immediately in the game, right? If it took longer. I mean, yeah, if it took longer to kill these, you would have basically the same air macro as in. I would say. I feel like.
which I don't want Bar to be a clone of FAF, but I think longer air battle micro air
Come on,
battles is like a
you
good.
should. I don't think you should take like that kind of stance on anything. I feel like if something's good, you should just steal it.
That's what I do in this game.
Yeah.
Just watch your old replays and steal your opens and just do the same thing.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't know if you should steal anything from me.
I was watching one of your games just yesterday actually, and I was noticing you're pretty clean with the like I think we touched on this earlier. Pretty clean with the expanding without LLTs or like naked expanding. But
Yeah.
like the radar placement and the LLTs you do put down are like really strong. So kudos on that. You have that part figured out. I see the sides.
Well, when you're playing with grunts, it's easy. You know, it's like playing the game with cheats.
Grunts are really strong. What do you think ARM needs to do with that, or like to get in the to be able to play? Sorry, like an ARM bots versus core bots in 1v1s. Like what do you think needs added or changed?
Oh yeah, I guess so. What should be changed balance wise?
Or like I mean,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. Okay,
because
so I think it's really nice for ARM bots when they can use sticks to be aggressive, right? That's like a massive advantage. So that like creates this massive asymmetry already, where you can force the enemy to be honest if you're playing ARM bots, or even just vehicles, right? You can't do that in ground versus ground. So in ground versus ground, what ends up happening if you know that the enemy's playing grunts, you just start with like 3 engineers or something, and like the other player is too afraid to move out in case in case you have ticks or rovers or something, right? And then you can be super greedy with the mind game. So I think that advantage already like gives um like a lot of power to the arm bots. It's mostly like, but like after that early like being able to force the enemy to be on the defensive. After that, like they just kind of suck. Probably like it would just have to be just something like super obvious, like increasing the speed of a pawn or something like that. Maybe making it more accurate.
have you seen like mass tick games like mass ticks versus grunts or
I've
experienced
played
that at all?
those. I've played that. If you want, I'll actually there is a replay of me versus Randy on Canis where he did the Mastic. If you want to look that up,
Yeah.
but that's already like a week old or 2 weeks old, maybe.
I mean I think it's totally fine just for the sake of
Yeah.
maybe looking at that, but
Uh,
let me start this replay and
Wait, is this the same replay? I think.
yeah, I was it is. I would just wanted to have something going while I grab something else and
Mm-hmm.
put it into the folder.
No, I see you have like a second screen type of setup.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Super
Yeah,
OP
this game.
production value.
Yeah, I'll just while you're looking at it, I'll just commentate on this game that there was this like one push. I feel like I made like 3 PDs in the middle of the map, first of all, like on the enemy side of the map. And Randy already had 2 or 3 rocket bots or something, and it was just like the worst mistake of my life. And then on top of that, I shouldn't make the PDs in the first place there because
So
enemy can reinforce really fast with rocket bots and kill them. And then secondly, then I like push in toward the enemy base and like donate 1 billion reclaim. It was so bad.
excuse me, by PD for those of you who aren't aware is like LLT essentially.
Oh yeah. Yeah, point defense, right? That's a subcom term. I'm just really used to saying it. It's really hard to get rid of. I think a lot of the other um, words I've gotten used to a little bit more, but PD is still pervasive.
Right, and I think it rolls off the tongue a little faster than LLT.
Yeah, it's way nicer than LT.
I have the other replay downloaded. Was there anything you wanted to like comment on before from this game before we move on
From
to the
this
next
game.
one?
Well, no, I mean, that's basically it. Like, I think when I did that push, like, I don't know, you'd have to like look at it, but it's gonna be a while into the game. I had like a push with partners and stuff, and the reason, like, in a way, you can look at that and be like, oh, that was a horrible mistake. But like, what did I see? Like, I thought that I could kill him with the pounders, so that's why I did the push. So it's really hard to tell, like, what the exact mistake in my judgment was to that made it such a bad push.
Do you
You
think
know?
that protracted the game longer? Because like I mean, it left the reclaim field. That's what ended up happening, right? Like,
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, oh, I guess it's here, right? Like, I have the two pounders now, or like at least two. I like push in here with the pounders, and he kills them, and then he gets the reclaim, right? But like, I'm feeling right now that he has a lot of grunts, so surely the pounders could do a lot. But he also has a lot of rocket bots, so I probably shouldn't be doing this because of the rocket bots. I think that's the main mistake, probably.
it's like you're also not pushing into mexes or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
I'm just trying to kill all the grunts. Yeah.
that was a really nice
Yeah,
surround, actually. But just
yeah. He did a good job.
Pounders are
Yeah,
really strong, man. Cool unit.
yeah. I think that was the biggest mistake in that game. Yeah. 44 minutes. Look at that.
I'm gonna have to make sure my OBS is picking up this other instance of Beyond All Reason.
I wonder if it's this. Oh, it's not. Well, I don't know about OBS, but the Discord isn't.
It'll come up in a second, I think.
Yeah.
See it?
I'm not sure if this is the game that I meant.
Yeah, it was from
Yeah.
5 days ago. 45 minutes. Is there another one?
Is he armed? Is he armed?
We'll have to wait and see.
It might be older than 5 days. Oh, it's possible to search for two players, right?
I think so,
That's pretty cool. The drop down's pretty laggy though.
for sure.
Oh, we actually played quite a few games now that I look at it. Pretty cool. Wait, no. This takes either one of us. It doesn't like take games that with both players present. It's either me or Randy. Okay. That doesn't work. So is he arm bots in this replay?
Sorry, I'm trying to fiddle around to make sure this is getting picked up. Let me move the camera. He's Cortex.
Okay, yeah, it's not this one. It's pretty old, the replay that I'm talking about, I guess.
No,
So it's a bit hard to find, I suppose.
no problem. We can maybe just talk a little bit more and maybe look at this game. Let me transition to
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, but you were asking about upticks. That's why I was gonna show this replay. But yeah. So I think it's not good. I don't think you can do the tick stuff against runs. It's like purely a surprise strat. Like maybe you like gather up like I don't know 16 ticks before the enemy scouts you, and then you just suddenly come in and try to snipe their entire
Right.
energy line or something. I think that's the power. But besides that, I mean, you can't really trade. And once I see enemy go ticks, like I will actually make some PDs, some LTs.
Yeah, you just kind of expand a little slower, a little more safe than
Yeah,
perhaps you would against like grunt versus grunt, and
exactly.
they just like can't harass you at all. I mean, just like put a couple of grunts everywhere, and they just can't even get damaged. So, in that way, it
Yeah,
feels, yeah, you're just um arm arm bots versus core bots. It's just like an uphill battle the entire game. It's like why even try it? So maybe back to
yeah.
the if
I
something's
think
broken, just use it, right? So
exactly. Yeah. Well, I sent you the replay. I think that's the correct one with ticks.
let me grab that.
Yeah.
So this is recorded and posted to YouTube, right? But currently, in the current hour, actually, we're gonna be doing the at the bar episode 2 here in like 30 minutes, 27 minutes. So I mean, if that's something you want to stop by and continue on, we can do that. But
I don't know what that is, but
Oh, sorry. So are you in the bar Discord?
yes.
Okay, so and for those of you kind of watching this in the bar Discord, there's like this academy program, and there's mentors, air quotes, like mentors from the game who like players can submit questions and tickets essentially in the academy and work with mentors like reviewing replays, right?
Okay.
So a part of that program, we just started doing this. It'd be episode 2, is just Sunday at the bar, where lately I've been hosting it. We'll just like look at open academy tickets and just talk about like random topics. Like last week, we looked at bot opens from a couple different high level players, and then we talked about the geo position on Supremismus, right? So
Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't know about that.
Yeah, well, like randomly, like a really
Yeah.
high, like 50 true skill player who's really strong. Oh, not really strong in Geo. He would say he's more the C player, Dark Spirit. He was there and he answered a lot of our topics, so that was pretty cool. And I just wanted to start like a live show essentially, like players can come and get there, and like randomly there was some really strong players there. So if that's something you want to participate in, like 25 minutes from now, if not, we can. I'll
Yeah, I mean, if you, I don't mind talking about the game. I like
right
talking about
on.
games, RTS games. So, sure, I guess.
Okay, well, I mean,
Depends kind of what format it takes, but if I get to talk about RTS games, then sure.
well, that's what we'll be doing. It's just I think I might just start another recording and it'll be called like a 2 for 1. Like, yeah. So,
Yeah. Okay.
um, I can bring the ticket game up, but I don't really think it's like that was just a little segue conversation about like
All
arm
right.
bots
All right. All
versus
right.
core bots, right?
Yeah.
For the sake of Canis River or the Bar Pro League map pool, do you have any thoughts on how or suggestions maybe? I know I'm putting you on the spot again, coming up with suggestions,
Mhm.
but like, what are your thoughts on the format of the Bar Pro League or the map pool?
I haven't really put that much effort into reading the format. I'm not gonna lie.
So
Um,
are you familiar with StarCraft 2's
yeah.
GSL?
GSL format. Yeah.
It's pretty much GSL. So
That's what I would suggest. Yes. For everything. Yeah.
okay, well we're on the same page on that. So
Yeah.
maybe
Double elimination groups. Yeah.
right, round of 16, and then 2 players move into the round of 8. It's a single elimination. So I think it's a pretty strong
Yeah.
format.
It's a
Myself,
really good one. Yeah.
yeah. What
Yeah.
about
But about the maps.
7 maps in a pool versus 9? That was something I tried messing around with, and it kind of settled on 7. But what would you prefer as a player?
Uh, I would be fine with 9 as well as 7. I think both are fine for me. Probably. Yeah, I don't really mind. Both of them were fine. I mean, I get that you can practice less maps if you are like if it's a 7 instead of a 9,
Mm-hmm.
because like yeah, you might veto down to like 3 maps or whatever, but then there's still more possibilities. So you need to try every map or whatever, like all the maps that you're not vetoing, right?
Right.
Um. So like, is that affected like one more map for you to learn or something because you're vetoing the rest? I don't know, something like that.
Uh,
Uh,
well, if I could put my 2 cents in, having 9 maps
Yeah.
in the pool, it makes it a little easier to put in, like, not quite meme maps, but like interesting, like non-standard maps that, as a competitor, you can like still get practice in, and you're not subject to losing a tournament because someone picks a meme map in the finals and like you never practice
Yeah.
it, and like they have some like
Like shallow straits in a 2v2 tournament or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
right. You're not subject to losing to that, but having 9 maps in the pool, I can put in like a C map and not feel bad about it, right? So,
Yeah.
or
No,
like a
I understand. Yeah. No, I'm fine either way. I think that there's not like that many players who are super actively playing 1-on-1. So they probably, most of the players in the tournament are probably gonna perform better if there's less maps for them to practice for.
I think that's a good thing. So I left it at 7, or I just
Yeah.
felt it easier like leave it at 7 and keep the same format, because like the way the banning and the map picking and the banning stage and the best of threes
Yeah.
is, it kind of works out pretty well.
Yeah, I would say the more like active the community is, the more players there are that like playing a lot, and the more maps you want to have. But yeah, in its current state, I'm fine with 7. I guess it's probably better for most people.
To your point about the activity or the player base, I was
Yeah.
just gonna comment on that. Like, the more players who get involved or start playing the 1v1 leagues, the more I can stratify the skill level essentially. Right? Will it actually have once going back to StarCraft, like a code A and a code S, like code A and code
Yeah.
S, and like qualifiers to get into code A, so you don't have to like you might actually be able to play a couple of matches on a weekend tournament and have some fun. So just want to encourage players to keep coming out and participating, even though you might not make a deep run against players like Teddy and Blodir, right? You're not going to make it deep in the tournament, but I mean, you'll have some fun and get some good experience. So
Yeah, yeah, I can't beat those Finnish players, am I
yeah, right. So it's just
right?
it's a good point. Why are you guys so good at RTSs? I don't like even like Cero. Like I mean, there's a lot of good Finnish RTS
Yeah,
players. So
yeah. I haven't really spoken much to Teddy, so I wouldn't know about him. I think in general, like countries where there's a lot of like social security, you have players like being able to spend more time, well, playing games.
right, right.
Although I think that will change a little bit because of there's more like work from home, and work from home enables that as well in a similar manner.
For sure.
So yeah, that might be one explanation. I don't know. That's just something I've thought about before. I kind of lost the track here of what we were talking about.
Yeah, maybe I can close this out here. We talked about a lot of stuff. Maybe we can finish up with the Bar Pro League. I mean, we were just on that subject really, but if we end it here, just want to
Yeah.
say good luck in your matches. I'm pretty sure we'll make it into the round of 16.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
Thanks. Yeah, I played a bunch of matches against Lo yesterday, and I think I'm like number 3 on the leaderboard now. I don't know if that matters at all because like I guess people are like super rusty and not like playing a lot. So we'll see.
we'll see,
But
man.
I'm pretty confident, I would say.
Well, it's yeah. Once again, I'm glad some of you FAF players came over. I'm glad you're enjoying Bar and playing 1v1. So I mean, as a spectator, it's great to watch high level matches and yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah. Blodir, thanks for coming on, and this will be, posted on YouTube here in a coming week or so, and then we'll maybe move into the next episode of Sunday at the Bar here.
Yeah, thanks. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, man. Same. Thanks for coming on.